Hello and welcome to another episode of Reality Check here on the Talkin Jets channel. What's going on? Matt O'Leary alongside Jeremy, aka Jets Chaos. And I think that name, Jeremy, is very apropos for this week. It's been chaos in Jets land.
It absolutely has, man. Wild stuff.
We will get into everything that happened this week. We're going to do a lot of focus, I think, on the play caller change because that's the big news of the day. But we haven't spoken, at least on air, about the Robert Saleh news since it broke. So I want to get your thoughts on that here for the channel.
Well, if I was just shocked as anyone. I mean, it was surprising. Not that Robert Saleh got fired and ended up losing his job. It was surprising the timing, right? Just a weird thing. Tuesday morning, not Monday, Tuesday, just, after the Monday after the game. And this early in the season. So it was a real surprise. My first reaction was, what does this change? When they first said Hackett staying, it was like we lost the last couple of games because of the offense, because it felt like the same crap. And even getting rid of Saleh, like my initial reaction was, well, if you have the same offensive coordinator, the same game plans, it's going to be the same thing. What really changes? And then we got our answer. This morning with the Ulbrich press conference, the answer came, and now we're seeing changes to the offense as well. And I know a lot of people are thinking, well, couldn't Saleh have done that? But now I'm starting to realize I don't think Saleh was fired because of the offense. Meaning, yes, the offense is why we lost the last two games, but I don't think that was what he's thinking of. I'm firing him to improve the offense. I think it was just I'm firing him because the guy in year number 4 still comes into games unprepared. We're still the most penalized team, and there's no discipline. The locker room is falling apart, and we'll talk about, obviously the Williams interview the day before. And I'm realizing it's two different things that happened. Saleh got fired because he's a bad leader. And, what happened today with the play calling changing is to address the offense.
The thing that I didn't get was when Robert Saleh gets fired. I'm not saying this is what you just did, but it felt like the national media reaction was, this isn't Robert Saleh's fault. He's not in control of the offense. It's Nathaniel Hackett. And while, yes, Hackett is the offensive coordinator, and when they were citing the defensive numbers under Robert Saleh, that's all well and good. But the issue is, Jeremy, he's not the defensive coordinator. He was this team's head coach. He was supposed to be in charge of the entire team, and he hired this staff. He brought in Nathaniel Hackett. Maybe it was forced upon him a little bit, but nobody, held the gun to his head and said, you got to bring over Keith Carter, Todd Downing, Tony Dews, and the rest of that offensive staff. That's not any good, that nobody likes. So he is partially to blame for the offense. And as you rightfully pointed out, they were never prepared to play. How many times did they go into games just completely unmotivated and unready? They were outscored by, I believe the number was 216 points in the first half during his tenure. It was by at least over 200, which is just an absolutely insane number when you think of it. They were always down in games. They were always undisciplined. And you know what? Robert Saleh is a really nice guy. He's going to be a defensive coordinator in no time after the season. He's going to be one of the first guys who are hired, but he wasn't a very good head coach. And I don't blame Woody Johnson or the Jets for wanting to move on and try to save their season.
I mean, look, since he's taken over in 2021, we've had a 90+% turnover in roster, but it's made no difference with the penalties. Like at some point, some bozo on X told me, because I tweeted these penalties are acceptable, the coach, defended the coach. This was before Saleh got fired. He defended Saleh and said, oh, it's not his fault the players are getting penalized. Well, look, it's year number 4. He can't say it's somebody else's players that he had inherited. I mean, whether he had the 2021 roster or the 2024 roster, it was the same results. Penalties. That has to come onto the head coach. It has to. If one week you have a lot of penalties, you could say, well, they're not normally penalized. The head coach on the field in that moment, what was he going to do? But this is 3+ years. That right away is screaming lack of discipline. And it was a tremendous strike for him. And it's tremendous evidence of why he needed to be fired, because it clearly indicated there was no discipline. He was not able to, and as in his own words, he was not able to fix it. And he said, how many times did we hear him say, "We'll fix it"?
That's all he said. Is that we'll get him tomorrow, New York Jets. That's what it felt like under Robert Saleh. We'll worry about that one tomorrow. Here's some numbers via Stefan Stelling. 18 14+ point losses to just 20 wins. So he has nearly as many blowout losses as total wins. 60 more penalties than opposing teams, which is last in the NFL. Outscored, it was 267, so closer to 300 points in the first half, by far last in the NFL. 1-4 in after the bye week or Thursday Night Football. Like, there were so many things that went into it. It wasn't just, hey, we lost the last 2 games and our offense looked like garbage. And I hated the narrative that it was Aaron Rodgers who did it. And I wanted to get your reaction to those comments, because if I know you like I think I do, I'm sure you didn't like those very much.
No, I hate it when people just make things up. I mean, and people people are brainwashed by the Main Street media. Like, and I'm not even talking about our media. I'm talking about the national media. People are brainwashed by this. These people in the national media are inventing things. They don't like Aaron Rodgers. They've been saying the same nonsense for 2 years. It's just enough already. I mean, if there's any truth to it, it's not because Diana Rossini is reporting it. I promise you. And it's just not what you're hearing from the locker room. It's not what you hear from Aaron Rodgers himself. It simply isn't. Does he have more power than any other player on the team? Is there some things that they might run by him? Absolutely. Sure. But to sit here and pretend we know what's exactly going on and how much power he has and this and that, it's ridiculous. I mean, I'll go as far as to say I think the reason Hackett is still on this team is because of Aaron Rodgers. I will say that. But I don't know that Aaron Rodgers specifically threatened them. I think that they're just trying not to rock the boat too hard to have a negative effect. And maybe there is a part of them, without Aaron having to say anything, to say, hey, let's not fire Hackett, because we don't want to lose our quarterback. We don't want to lose his, focus on the season, his dedication to winning and everything, and distract him and upsetting him by getting rid of his coach. But all this nonsense about him controlling everything and deciding that Saleh gets fired is just ridiculous.
Now, while we were on the air, did you see what Nathaniel Hackett's new job is going to be? Just came across my desk. I could pull it up for you if you want.
Is it going to be? Is Aaron Rodgers going golfing today? Because maybe Hackett's his caddy?
Close. Good guess. Ready? First look at Nathaniel Hackett with his new job. He is coffee boy. Here, let's get rid of this banner so we see the full thing here. Look at this. This was my fun for the internet for today. I photoshopped Nathaniel Hackett's head on a guy carrying like 18 coffee cups.
That's great. That's great. There's a lot of guys who need coffee. You know what I mean? We got a lot of guys.
Yeah, Mike McCagnon clearly needed it a lot. The infamous picture of him with like 50 cups of Dunkin' Donuts on his desk. Things you love to see. But in all seriousness, we were talking about it before we hopped on the air. I have no idea what the Jets' plan is with Nathaniel Hackett, because they completely neutered him by taking away his play calling, which right decision, by the way. This is not me saying the Jets made some sort of mistake here. This was 100% the correct call to do it. But Downing is doing the offensive game plan, and Downing is calling the plays. Is Todd Downing not the offensive coordinator now? Like, what does this mean?
Yeah, I mean, they could sit there and say we're not changing job titles till they're blue in the face. So the offensive coordinator who's not calling plays, not designing the plays, who doesn't have the final say in the game plan, you could call him an offensive coordinator. You could pay him $20 million a year, and you could like freaking let him walk into the stadium, the facility on a red carpet. But at the end of the day, by definition, he's not the offensive coordinator.
No, he certainly isn't. But the Jets do have a new offensive coordinator. in Todd Downing. We're going to talk about it. Now, I'm not going to lie to you and pretend like Todd Downing is this massive upgrade and the Jets just completely fixed their offense, because he wasn't. Specifically in his last year in Tennessee, he was really bad. But I do have some 2021 numbers that you might be able to survive with. I hope this is the version that we are getting from Todd Downing. So in 2021, the Titans finished 12-5. In points for as a team, they ranked 15th. In yards, they were 17th. They scored 30 plus points 5 times. They scored 20 plus points 13 times. Ryan Tannehill went for 3,700 yards, 67% completion, 21 touchdowns, 14 picks, an 89.6 rating. Derrick Henry did miss 9 games this year, so he played half the season. Obviously, the rushing numbers are going to be inflated with a running back like Henry, but still, overall, they ran the ball the most in the NFL, 551 times for just over 2,400 yards, which was 5th, 23 touchdowns, which was 3rd, and 4.4 yards per attempt, which is 14th. Any optimism that maybe he can turn this run game around offensively?
Yeah, I mean, look, before anything else, the players have to play better, right? I mean, and individually, it wasn't as bad as it looked. It's more of them as a unit, so it does come to coaching, so he could make a big difference. But the players have to execute. The players have to pick up the blitzes. They have to be able to execute and perform whatever plan he puts together, whatever scheme he puts together. And Moses coming back is going to be a big help. Fashanu was terrible, and it hurts to say, but it's the reality. He was terrible. But look, the guy had Tannehill as his quarterback, and had people saying that Tannehill was good. I mean, people were wearing shirts that were saying Tannehill is good, right? This was his offense, and Henry was out for 8 weeks, and he kept it going without him, so we can't say it was just Henry. So we have decent offensive linemen. Like, individually, when you look at them on paper, they're good. They just need to be well coached, and they need to be inspired to play hard. We have running backs that are good, super talented running backs. We have a quarterback that prevents the defense from just stacking the box all game, right? If he plays up to anywhere near his potential, there's just no reason. And I think that's why Saleh was fired. There's just no excuse with this roster and with this talent that we're not seeing a better offense on the field. So, yeah, here's a guy who with less talent had what looked like a pretty good offense in Tennessee. Why not come in, take over this roster and light a spark and be able to succeed with them?
That's what they're hoping for. Again, they're hoping that this is just going to spark the team. You don't make a move like this. I've seen some people who are like, oh, the Jets are giving up on their season by firing the head coach in season. I don't see it that way. I think this is like the final card of trying to play the last thing they could do, which is put in a new head coach and change the play caller. Although I will say I'm very, very surprised we haven't gotten either of the last 2 days a Devante Adams trade news. I feel like that would be the cherry on top of them being like, we are trying to get this thing going in the right direction now.
And that he hasn't gone anywhere else. I mean, the Raiders publicly said 2nd round pick, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, does that seem that high? 2nd round pick for a guy that's put up the numbers he's put up, that I'm sure, like, if he goes to a new team, especially a competitor, he's going to be fired up. He definitely, I mean, you're not locked in at past this year. You're talking about bringing in a guy that can, like, definitely has the juice left to light it up for, 10 games, 15, 12, 13 games through the playoffs. It's just a surprise. That's just as surprising to me. Not just that we're not getting Devante Adams news, but nobody is making a move on this guy for a 2nd round pick. That's shocking to me.
Yeah, it is a little bit surprising. A 2nd round pick wouldn't stop me from making a Devante Adams trade. My preference would be that it would be like, I don't know. I think I said a 3rd and a 4th might be enough to get it done. But if at the end of the day, if they couldn't land them for anything less than a 2nd, you still have 2 3rd round picks that you could, manipulate, move up the board if you want to, if there is someone you like. At the end of the day, the Jets were trying to trade up to pick 45 to get Malachi Corley, who's played 2 snaps this year. Like, I don't know, man. Like, eventually you got to try to get this thing right. There's so much pressure on this team to make the playoffs and make noise this is something that to me feels like a no-brainer, honestly. And again, am I saying Devante Adams fixes everything with this offense? No, of course not. But he certainly doesn't hurt it. I think he makes it a lot better.
I mean, we're certainly 3-2, arguably 4-1 if he's on the team. There's no question we're 3-2 if he's on the team. I think that I haven't heard a Jet fan argue that.
He's not dropping 4 passes in London. I can tell you that much.
There's just no way we're losing to Denver, right? I mean, the London, the Viking game could be argued, and we could just argue and all agree maybe there's a 50% chance we win that game instead of losing it if we have Davante. Maybe it's a toss up whether that would have made the difference. I don't know, but we certainly would have beat Denver. I don't know anyone that argues that or disputes that. If you have Davante with Garrett Wilson spreading, breaking Denver's defense apart a little bit, because Patrick Surtain could not and would not have been able to cover both of them. So, I mean, right there, you're talking about versus what you said, a 2nd-round pick next year. What is that going to do for us? This team has a history of not even playing or utilizing them or not wanting to. They try to keep them off the field. We see what's happening with Corley. And we don't know how much longer we have Rodgers. And we have a game coming up against Buffalo that's playing for first place. So the season is far from lost. I mean, we literally are a win away from being in first place. What is taking this team so long? Go out and get Devante Adams.
I know. It just seems to make too much sense. Unfortunately, Jets Chaos, I have seemed to piss off friend of the program, Dano. He's not happy with me. He said, "This is hereby my plea to Matt to stop sharing the 2025 head coaching candidate odds. It's bad juju." Listen, I only shared it because I'm just passing along information. That's all I am doing here. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm passing along information. I want to see Ulbrich win the job because if Ulbrich's the coach next year, that means they probably made the playoffs and probably won a playoff game. Like if this team goes 8-9 and they miss out on the playoffs, then yeah, Ulbrich's probably not coming back. But if they, who knows, maybe 10 or 11 wins is enough to win this division. Maybe they get hot, win 8-9 more games, and they host a home playoff game and they win. And, if that's the case, I think that's enough for Ulbrich to come out. But I will say with Dano, I do agree that I want this thing to play out before we fully go into who's going to be the next head coach of the season. I was just passing along the information that was sent to me. But yeah, what's your take on that? Or do you want to see how Ulbrich does, or are you already thinking about who the next coach is going to be here?
No, I mean, I'm thinking it's Ulbrich. I mean, here's the thing. If we beat Buffalo, we are in first place. And what Ulbrich will have in front of him, what he'll have left to accomplish, is be the best team in our division the rest of the way. Now, think about it. If we beat Buffalo and we're in first place, you have Buffalo coming off. That would be 3 losses in a row for them, right? So they're struggling and they're having some issues. You have a Miami team that's in turmoil, and you have New England team that flat out stinks. So before I start thinking about other head coaches, what's going through my mind is Ulbrich has a great opportunity, an incredible opportunity to get himself a fully committed head coaching position. It's not like he has to come back from the dead. He doesn't have to win 4 in a row to get to first place. He literally, in game number 1, his first game as a head coach, has the opportunity to take over first place. And then after 6 games, with 11 games left, the task is very clear. Just hold on to that lead. Defend that lead and be the best team in the division for 11 games. And you are, my friend, the head coach of the New York Jets.
Yep. 1000%. I wanted to pull up just because we just had it tweeted out not long ago. Aaron Rodgers spoke to the media today. I won't play the video, but I'll read the quote here. So Aaron Rodgers and Jeff Ulbrich spoke about the possibility of Downing replacing Hackett. And here's what he said. "I told him I'd back him wherever he was headed," which is exactly what he was saying on the Pat McAfee show yesterday. And I wasn't surprised at all by this news today about Todd Downing taking over. If you listen to Woody Johnson on the phone call, or if you listen to Jeff Ulbrich, or if you listen to Aaron Rodgers over the last couple of days, all of them mentioned a needed change on offense. the only thing they could do is change the play caller. You're not getting, a whole lot else in here unless, again, Devante Adams trade, but that hasn't come through yet. So when I got that notification, was not surprised.
Yeah, I mean, look, if they didn't change the play caller, and if Hackett would have come out and he's still the guy and he's still the offensive coordinator doing the same role, the firing of Robert Saleh would have made no sense. Like, it would have felt so senseless. Like, I understand it. It wouldn't have been, oh, I don't understand why they did it. We talked about it before. It wasn't just the offense. We gave the reasons why he was failing as a leader and a head coach. But the timing of it would have made no sense. Because if we go into Buffalo, if the plan was we're going to go into Buffalo and it's going to be the same guy with the same offensive game plan and the same guy calling the plays, after what we've seen the last 2 weeks, what logic is that? Like, this was something that I think it's good that he didn't come in and just do it. I think he showed respect for every individual involved by waiting a little bit, by first saying, hey, Saleh just left the building. I've been here for this was 4 hours ago. I was just a defensive coordinator and had no idea. I'm not going to sit here and make big announcements like this. And instead, he waited, probably had the right conversations with everyone, and did what he knew he was going to do, but had to do it the right way. And he did it the right way, came out, and now he announced it in a press conference, I'm sure, after long conversations with all of the coaches, with Aaron Rodgers, and everybody that needed to know that wasn't going to feel blindsided.
This comment from Yeti has to be answered here. He says, Jeremy, during the senior game bromance, did you happen to mention how good of a play caller you are? Is your name in the ring for offensive play caller here, Jeremy?
I did try to throw it in, like, while I was talking to him as he's walking away. I was like, hey, man, I could do anything for the team. And I did have dreams that he'd come find me later. Like, he'd say, hey, you, come here. Start talking to me. And the next thing I know, I'm being invited to the building and asked to, do like maybe, that horrible jet show, those horrible people, those hosts say, we need somebody with some energy. I replaced that doofball, and I'm the guy sitting on that stool for the Jets show on the Jets channel. I all kinds of dreams. But look, I don't know if I'm the play calling type. I think I would, maybe I don't know. Maybe that's Dom C's wheelhouse a little bit more. Maybe it's green beans. I don't know. That's not my thing. My thing is I could tell them about. I could do little consultation things though. Like, for example, when the other team fumbles and you recovered on the 50-yard line, 45-yard line, the first play you do offensively is take a shot deep downfield. And I don't know why we've never understood that as a football team.
All right. I need fired up Jeremy for this one. Adrian Gutierrez says Saleh brought a great defense and brought Ulbrich. It was not the defense. All the Jets did was scapegoat Saleh. Ulbrich is basically like Saleh. Nothing changes. You fans are delusional.
Okay, let me tell you why Adrian's ridiculous. Okay, because Adrian probably has never had a management position in his life and has no idea how organizations work. I was an assistant principal. Okay. So it'd be very easy if my principal would have been fired in the middle of the year and I was promoted to principal for people to say, what's going to change? He's the same guy. It's going to be the same thing. He just worked for the principal. Let me tell you something. Everything would have changed. 70% of what my principal did, I disagreed with. I would have changed the culture of my school, and I would have changed our focus as an admin team day one. Right? But what do you think I did? Do you think I told her that? Do you think I told my boss that? No. I had to play their game. I had to do her vision, her plan to the best of my ability. And I promise you that Ulbrich has a different vision, a different plan, would do different things and do things different ways. Okay? You want to know that Saleh is the defensive genius. He is a defensive genius. He's a great defensive coordinator. But nothing's going to change on our defense because Ulbrich has been calling it. The same defensive staff is there calling it with the same talent. We don't have to change that much, except a couple of things I think that would make us better. Playing more man, blitzing a little bit more, adjusting to what the opposition is doing and not being stubborn. But the reality is he did make a major change. He just changed who's calling the plays, and he's going to change the culture in the locker room because if he starts holding players accountable, That's going to be a monster change because that's why the locker room was falling apart. And you saw it with Quincy Williams. The locker room was falling apart because we weren't holding players accountable. It literally takes one day and a new coach to change that and start holding people accountable. So everything changes.
Yeah, is that not a wake-up call for the players? Do you not just have that oh shit moment? Maybe we're not as safe as what we were talking about. And I understand that Adrian is talking about the offense, but Robert Saleh's coaching philosophy, not defense, overall coaching philosophy was very, very conservative. We'll never forget last year before the Raiders game, the race to 20 points quote. It was horrible. It was absolutely atrocious. But if Jeff Ulbrich comes in here with nothing to lose, a 12-game interim head coaching job, where if he performs well, guess what? He will be the head coach of this team next year. Or if he doesn't, it doesn't matter because he's already a proven great DC. He'll get a job somewhere else as a defensive coordinator. Is he not then more likely to be aggressive and take chances that Saleh probably wasn't? Because again, Saleh was much more conservative. If Ulbrich's philosophy is more aggressive and more, more energy, then they're not going to call plays exactly like they just did during the Saleh era. So I don't get this comment at all, to be honest.
It's also Adrian doesn't understand what a head coach is, right? Just in the comment itself, it says it. Well, it wasn't the defense. Well, Saleh wasn't the defensive coach. He was the head coach. It doesn't matter if it was the offense or the defense. The head coach is responsible for everything. The head coach is responsible for the offense. It doesn't matter if they're a defensive-minded head coach. It doesn't matter what their job in San Francisco was. He's the head coach. The head coach is the final decision maker. He's the guy that takes all accountability at the end of the day. And for 3+ years, fourth year, it was the same mistakes. The same thing. We came out against Minnesota with how many days to prepare, and we weren't ready. And we got outplayed completely. We weren't ready for a quarter and a half. There was nothing, not a first down. That's the head coach. Getting 15 penalties, 12 of them enforced, 13 of them enforced against Denver, and continuing to be the most penalized team in the NFL. That's the head coach. So I don't understand. Oh, it wasn't the defense. Who cares if it wasn't the defense? He wasn't the defensive coordinator. Ulbrich was. He was the head coach, and he failed as a head coach. He failed.
Green Bean's hanging with us. He says, tell him, Jeremy, head coach is responsible for everything: tone, system, serving salmon to young wide receivers, everything.
Yeah, it's his fault. Mims was definitely Saleh's fault.
Yeah, I just wanted to pull this back up here because I'll zoom in on it. But one more time, in case anyone missed it, under the Robert Saleh era, there were 18 14-point plus losses to just 20 overall wins, 60 more penalties than any team in the league, outscored by 267 points in the first half, which was last in the NFL, and they were 1-4 after the bye or Thursday Night Football. I don't know what else. I don't know what else to say. I really don't. If we're not getting it after that,
yeah. I mean, how many times could we just make excuses for him? Proud New York Jets fan, my friend Nick, our friend Nick Shine. He was the biggest supporter, biggest backer of Robert Saleh before the year. He defended the 7 wins. He said 7 wins, no quarterback. The last person that would fall down, on his sword and say Saleh had to go. And guess what? He did. He agreed with this move and said there was no excuse this year. There's no excuse for 2-3.
There is no excuse. John, with our first super chat of the day, gets it going. A losing head coach doesn't get more than 2 different offensive coordinators. I get it. And look, like, the offense was clearly the bigger issue. But again, his job is the head coach. His job is not to be the defensive coordinator. When the entire team, better example, the Jets' young players right now, this year, who are in year 3, Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, all 3 have not played to their expectation, and all 3 had the energy on the sideline of the head coach, who is just staring out into space. It looks like anytime they go to him, it's the 1,000-yard stare into nowhere. And this decision was a wake-up call. Again, I don't I don't get how we don't think this changes anything.
How did he not? And if you watch any great coach, like if go back and watch the film of Parcells, watch Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll's a great one to watch. If you had the Seattle Seahawks 20 minutes of gameplay into the game, not have a first down yet, and you looked when the defense was on the field and the offense was on the sideline, do you think Pete Carroll would be sitting there with his hands on his knees on the sideline, staring at the game blankly? No. He was back in the bench, going nuts, screaming, yelling, showing diagrams, showing his little iPad. That's what he was doing because that's what a coach does. In the game, fixing it. In the game, going to each player and inspiring each one of them or threatening each one of them, either yelling at them, whatever he was doing. He was firing them up and he said, hey, I'm watching you. I see what you're doing right now. But when Saleh's sitting there on the sideline and he's staring at the field and he's saying nothing to the players after 20 minutes of complete garbage, where's the accountability? I want my head coach going up to every player on that offense and saying, hey, wake up and start playing some football. He was not doing that.
Couple more comments here. Hackett was part of Rodgers' wish list, all of which was set into motion when Woody said on the red carpet all he was interested in Rodgers, removing all leverage from JD talking to Carr. Well, a couple things here. One, they did talk to Carr. They had a meeting with him in some Italian restaurant. Nathaniel Hackett was wearing his hat inside, drinking a martini. And also, Derek Carr was not good last year. He got off to a hot start this year and is hurt. But look at every single Saints fan and how excited they are that Spencer Rattler is starting. They don't see a future with Derek Carr. So the Jets swung big and it hasn't worked out right now as they're 2-3. But I don't know if the Jets traded for Derek Carr, like the Jets would be in this amazing, great spot, right? Or the sign, they wouldn't have had to trade it for him. Why is this being brought up today? The Jets are one game out from being in first place. They just changed their head coach. They just changed their play caller, and we're still stuck on, maybe they should have gotten Derek Carr instead. What are we doing? Why is this convo in the chat today?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the reality is, even with the dog shit that we've seen the last 2 weeks, Rodgers and this offense still has more touchdowns, and Rodgers has more touchdowns than I think Zach Wilson had all last year, right? Or till week 11 or something. So even in this disgustingness, we still have a ton more touchdowns. What we don't have is the final result. We don't have wins. And that comes on a head coach. Wins. You need to find a way to win the game. And he just wasn't doing it. And you know what? He may have turned it around. Coach Ulbrich might come in and we might end up winning 11, 12 games, win the division. Everyone will say we did the right thing. We did the great thing. It never would have happened. I don't know that. There's a chance that if that Saleh could have stayed, we still would have beat Buffalo on Monday because he changed the play caller and the season could have changed around. But it doesn't matter. It's just what you're saying. It doesn't matter. What's done is done. If Ulbrich comes in, we beat Buffalo, and we end up winning this division, we don't look back. There's no second guessing. It doesn't matter anymore. The only thing we have to go by is, you know what? We were 2-3. The locker room was shit. We made a coaching change. Ulbrich came in, got us winning again. We won the division. If that happens, it was the right move. If we end up with 7-8 wins this year, and Ulbrich goes out, he's gone, we have to find a new coach, you could scream and yell that Saleh was scapegoated all you want. I won't even fight it that much. But to say it right now that Saleh was scapegoated because you don't have enough evidence that he was failing as a head coach, I don't know what to say to that. Like, I don't know what team you've been following. I don't know what team you've been watching because it's been right in front of us for 3+ years. His failure.
Dakota says Rodgers fired Saleh. LOL. And then Saleh scapegoat. I don't.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's just silly. It's just silly.
Jeremy, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Scapegoated for who? How could you be scapegoated when you're the person in charge?
Yeah, right. Exactly. He is the one in charge of the team, but he's the scapegoat. And oh yeah, by the way, Nathaniel Hackett's not calling plays. So he did get both. You did get the offensive coaching change, and then you did get the head coaching change. It's frustrating.
We just did it in a way that wasn't going to upset our quarterback and captain of the team. You know what I mean? We did it in a way that's not going to upset him.
Yep.
Or that's tolerable for him. You know, I think he's going to come with a chip on his shoulder. I think he's going to come out now really fired up with something to prove, because this is a punch to him too, right? I mean, when you make a coaching change, you're saying this team's not good enough. You know, if Rodgers has anything left, you think that he's going to come out and show it on Monday night.
You would think so. He's going to play motivated. I can tell you that much. We'll get back into the comments in a second. Got to let you know about MyBookie. In a year full of surprises, underdog wins, and all the so-called experts getting it wrong, MyBookie is the one book that's got your back. No fluff, second guessing, just straight up action with you in total control. Think you're going to roll the dice with the other guys? Good luck. At MyBookie, it's never been about guessing. It's all about giving you the edge. So every bet you place comes with confidence and a plan. If you know football and love to win, well, MyBookie is for you. And if you're new to the game and not sure where to start, we've got you covered. Step right up, use our code TalkinJets, and that'll double your bankroll with a 100% deposit bonus right from the jump. That's more money, more power to make winning plays. If you've been betting with us already, we've got something to share with you. MyBookie Plus, the new loyalty rewards program, you can now earn extra cash just for doing what you do. More plays, more wins, more cash in your account, no strings attached. They actually just shared this graphic. They have boosted bets, and their last 3 Thursday night risk-free boosts have all cashed. So if you want to get in on that, use code TalkinJets at MyBookie. All right, let's get back into the action with the play caller change and the comment section. We're at odds with our comment section today. Usually I feel like we're in agreement, but we're butting heads with the comments.
I'm shocked because I thought we were already at, before the year even started, I thought 80% of this fan base wanted Saleh gone. So I cannot believe now people are coming out of the woodwork to defend this coach. After 2-3 in the last 2 games, I cannot believe there are people defending him. When you watch what this team did and how they came out and how unprepared we were and how out-coached we've been this year, it's just shocking to me.
JMG, stop your BS about Quincy's comments. He was referring to putrid offense that can't score, not the head coach.
Yeah, I don't think that Quincy's comments were necessarily directed at the head coach.
I think it was just in general with the team.
Right. I don't think it was directed at Saleh. I don't. So I know I didn't say that. I think that his comments were, I am extremely frustrated with this organization and with the same old shit every week, the same crap. And I don't think he was pointing at just Saleh. He probably was pointing at a lot of the offense, but also just the losing atmosphere.
In the last 2 weeks, not even full 2 weeks, but we went to that game against Denver. And after the game, Aaron Rodgers had the quote where he's like, that's one way to do it, talking about the cadence, or you could hold guys accountable. And since that day, I think between the players, Woody Johnson, Jeff Ulbrich, everyone there, I think we've heard the word accountable no less than 6,000 times. Clearly that was an issue with the past regime. And my hope, at least, and you tell me how you feel on it, my hope is that Jeff Ulbrich gets through to these guys. And that's something that changes, because that kind of change with the coaching change, that's going to impact this team. 15 penalties, 13 accepted penalties in a game cannot happen. There is no way to win that way. They had 7 last week. Like, it's really hard to win in the NFL that way. And another good example of just the nonsense with Robert Saleh in the game against the Vikings. There was a call against DJ Reed. It was a bad call. The pass interference where Justin Jefferson pushed off. I'm sure you remembered it. But shortly thereafter, Michael Clemens hit Sam Darnold late, and they let it go because, in my opinion, I think that was a makeup call where the ref said, hey, we missed this one. Michael Clemens with the late hit. We'll let that go. Even it out. Robert Saleh is on the sideline laughing and slapping him on the ass as he comes off like, oh, we just got away with one. No, you got to be like, hey, man, like, we got lucky, but we can't be doing that stuff. It's the ho-hum, like, we'll get it figured out. We're penalized, but we'll get it right. Frustrating, man.
What killed me was the excuses, right? The last thing I want to hear my coach say is, well, Denver has a really good defense. In Minnesota, they were blitzing and they did a really great job. Like, is that what you're saying to the players? Like, this is okay because the other teams are good? Like, we want to be a playoff team. We want to be a championship contender. You can't sit there and justify losing because the other teams are good. Like, yeah, if you want to win a playoff game, you have to beat another team that's good. So what are we saying? That we're just going to play bad teams every week and that's the only way we can expect to win? I mean, it's got to go the excuse of, oh, they're good. I don't care if they're good. We didn't build this roster to just be okay where we can't beat good teams. We built this roster to be great, to be a 12-win team, to be a deep championship contending team. That means that you beat good teams. You don't sit there and say, oh, well, they were good. It's nonsense.
So it was Saleh's fault that Rodgers threw the 3 interceptions.
He wasn't fired because they lost against Minnesota. He wasn't fired because Rodgers threw 3 interceptions. He wasn't fired based on 5 games. He was fired based on 3 years and 5 games. He was fired because nothing changed. Nothing. Yet another game over 3 years into his tenure that we were not ready to play football for an entire quarter and a half. That's why he was fired.
Preach it. Preach it. I don't know. I don't know what else to say because we are clearly in lockstep. We're in agreement here. But I don't know. We can't agree. We can't agree with everybody today. This is another thing. So CBS reported Saleh wanted to fire Hackett. Woody has a call with the quarterback, not GM or anyone else, and Saleh is fired, even though Hackett is incompetent. That's not the way that it happened. That's not what happened. The timeline is they spoke on Monday. And what they spoke about was Woody Johnson saying, hey, are you okay? I don't know if you saw in the game, JMG, Rodgers got folded up like a pretzel and let out a scream and was clearly hurt. And after the game said he's got a low ankle sprain. They talked about that on Monday. Tuesday, Robert Saleh comes in, and that's when the Jets decide to move on. Rodgers was in the training room getting treatment when this happened. He was surprised like everybody. And then our big bad Aaron Rodgers today said that he told Jeff Ulbrich, whatever you decide with the offensive play caller, I'll back and I'll go with. So how the hell does this end up so that it's Rodgers' fault?
It's just delusional.
What am I missing? Something is not right in this equation.
Because people want to make sense of something and will invent their own narrative and pretend that it's true. Like, oh, this is what must have happened because I believe it happened. I'm not going to use any evidence. I'm not going to base it on any facts. I'm just going to magically pretend that what I think happened must have been what happened. I don't know. I can't even guarantee you what we're being told happened. But you know what? What we're being told is the only information I have. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know because the national media has brainwashed me for 2 years that Rodgers magically runs the New York Jets because it's a bunch of nonsense. Because there's been no evidence to that at all. Does he influence their decisions? Yes. Do they do things differently because of him? Yes. But that would be anybody. If you had Brady, if you had Mahomes, if you had Drew Brees, if you had Peyton Manning, if you have that type of quarterback, that type of person on your team, you're gonna think about your decisions and moves and talk to them in a different way than you would other players. That's a normal thing.
Yep. When Peyton Manning went to Denver and when Tom Brady went to Tampa Bay, Brady bought a bunch of his minions to Tampa Bay, but it didn't get nearly the same level of criticism, I guess, because he won the first year. If Aaron Rodgers wins, which it's looking significantly harder after the start they got out to, then this goes away. But unfortunately, the Jets aren't winning, and now Rodgers is washed. And they have no chance to do anything, and they're a dumpster fire, and it's the same old Jets. So I don't know what else we could do.
I mean, it might be right. If we come out and we lose to Buffalo and we lose to Pittsburgh, you're right. It's a dumpster fire, and it's going to turn out to be just another mess, just another disastrous Jets thing. But if he wins on Monday, everything is different. So the thing is we don't know. We don't know if it's going to work or not. It might work, it might not. We've seen it work for other teams, and we've seen it not work for other teams. What I do know is that on paper, we have a really good football team. And if we get them to play the way they're capable of playing and we coach them well, they will win.
I hope they win on Monday, because I don't know if I could lean into this thing going off the rails and fighting with the chat every day. I want vibes to be back. And the Jets have luckily played pretty well against Buffalo the last 2 years. They're 2-2, and Josh Allen has 18 turnovers in 11 games against the Jets in his career. 7 fumbles, 11 interceptions in 12 games.
Yeah, we haven't exactly played great offense against the Bills, and we've beaten them 2 years in a row just with Zach Wilson playing as a game manager, right? So we've beaten them 2 years in a row, but just not sucking. So as long as Aaron Rodgers doesn't come out and throw 3 picks, and even if he plays the way against San Francisco, the way he played against Tennessee, obviously the way he played against New England, any of that level of play is better than we've gotten in the past, and we've beaten this team before. So I don't know why anybody would think that we are not very much alive and have a very strong possibility and a really good chance to win on Monday. Like, I don't think the Bills got better. I don't think they're better than they were the last 2 years. So I don't understand why anybody is waving a white flag or thinking we don't have a chance to win on Monday. We have a very good chance to win that game. And I swear, I would imagine that 98% of our fan base will be feeling really good and will feel much happier and much more positive if that happens.
We got our guy Ryan hanging out with us. Now we had Green Bean, now Ryan. He said, I have the same hoodie as Todd Downing in the thumbnail. I feel like I could pull off Keith Carter or Todd Downing. It's true. I almost tweeted it today. So here, I'll open it up. I'll put it in this is how I'll do it. I'll put it in a tweet, the picture that I used of Todd Downing. And we'll pull this up. All right. Yeah, here we go. We'll share. Can this not pass for Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, especially with the hood up too. If his head was down, slumped down, like Ryan should get like a clipboard or something, right? Get a fake pass, get one of those, anything from a convention he's in. He works at a club, at a golf club, right? I mean,
yeah,
they definitely have laminates and stuff that they give out in events or something. Get a laminate, put in like in big letters like OC or something like that, right? Put in one of their names, put on the Jet hoodie, go in there, look really busy. Go in there, have a few people, you know, maybe even, I don't know, some of the viewers go like kind of bustle and hustle around them and act like little busy bees, somebody handing them a cup of coffee and have them just stride into the building. It might work.
What do you think of this prediction for Monday night? Bills 41, Jets 9.
I don't know why he's being so negative to go to. It's very disappointing. Like, so all of a sudden he's turned into Mo Dean or something. Like he's being this negative Jet fan. I just don't see any reason why we would think that. Like other than I understand we didn't play well the last 2 weeks, but the last half of football against the Vikings, we actually got back in the game. Once we actually toned it down until that last interception, we were very close to coming back and winning that game. I thought we were going to win that game. We had the ball at the 30-yard line. We were moving. We were managing the clock to have last possession. There's a very good chance we were going to win that game. So we started to play a lot better in the second half against Minnesota, who's a very good team. So I'm not really sure why we're all of a sudden thinking we're not going to be able to play the Bills and that we're going to get blown out by the Bills, especially after beating them the past 2 years. So I just don't get the negativity.
This is the one I was looking for. Nope. I missed it again. Maybe he's seen it before. Go Jets. Against the Bills? I don't know. They played them pretty tight. Yeah, they got blown out on the road, but at home, they played them pretty tight.
Yeah, not the past 2 years and not this team. I mean, I can't believe how fast people are just abandoning the fact that we have a good team, a good roster. I understand that the last 2 weeks have sucked, but just to pretend that it's just like, oh, we're just back to being what we were the last 8 years. I just think look, I might prove to be wrong to say that we're not. But to already be giving up and being at that point is I just don't understand it. Like, you guys watch football. You know the roster that we have, the quality of players. Like, why are you all of a sudden thinking that we're automatically not able to win?
I don't know.
Like, I just don't get it.
Oh my God. Jets roster's overrated.
Yeah, I mean that's a Miami fan, that's right. So
I
that's a Miami fan. So who cares? He doesn't know anything about our team, right? I mean,
he's in the comments all the time.
Yeah, but this is a guy who likes Tua, right? Who thought that's giving Tua $55 million a year was a good idea, even though I could hit his head like this, hey, and biff his head, and he's out for 3 weeks. So this is who we're talking about. Miami fans are the worst. You know what I mean? I mean, Miami fans.
Dolphins had a big win though. They beat the New England Patriots.
Ooh, they fought and scraped, and they pulled off and scraped the win against the Patriots. Wow. What a joke that organization is. They haven't won a playoff game in 25 years, and we got Dolphin fans coming in here and talking to us. You know what, Daniel Meehan? I'm not saying we're any less miserable than you, but you are us. You might not know it, but you're us. You're just as pathetic. Your organization has been just as pathetic. You haven't had a playoff win in 24 years. You have 30-year-old adults that are Miami Dolphin fans that have no memory of winning a playoff game. How pathetic is that?
I don't know. Dano's with the question. Do you believe it's a travesty that Allen isn't in the concussion protocol? Do you think the league weighed him playing in primetime this week? Yeah. Did you see the play of him going down and hitting his head? I was very surprised that he got back in that game against Houston last week.
This league is we know that this league has lost a lot of credibility. I no longer trust this league and their morals, or that there's fairness. And I think I've seen what got me, what put me over the edge was the non-calls and the calls that go Kansas City's way. I just after seeing, I forgot which team it was it the Atlanta game against Kansas City. I mean, and there's been so much evidence before that, but when they didn't call that pass interference and took away Atlanta's chance to win that game and beat Kansas City, that was, to me, if you didn't believe yet that this league caters to Kansas City, I don't know what it's going to take for you to know that there's something going on in this league. So Josh Allen, he's a moneymaker. He's one of the big names. He's one of the guys you put on the box of the video game. So is it a surprise to me? No, because I just don't trust this league and what their motives are.
No, I don't know how he got back into the game. He's going to play this week. He's definitely going to play, but it's scary. We've seen it with not just Josh Allen, but other quarterbacks have come in, and it feels like they're trying to get one over on the NFL and be like, hey, our guy's actually fine. He didn't just get hurt. Like with Tua, what was it, 2 years ago when they said it was his back? That's why he was all wobbly and that's why he went down. Like, we're not stupid. We saw him hit his head.
Yeah.
Frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's not all equal. Not everybody's playing on the same rules. It just isn't. We know that. If we ever get to the point where we're considering, if we're playing Kansas City in a playoff game, understand you can't beat that team unless you beat them convincingly. You cannot go into the fourth quarter where the referees have any chance to manipulate the outcome of that game, or else, and that's any team. That's just not the Jets, but any team in football. The only way Kansas City is going to be dethroned is you're going to have a 10+ point lead on them in the fourth quarter. That's the only chance you have, because the referees, if it's a close game, nail-biting game, they could call holding or not call holding at will, and there's nothing anybody could do about it.
Michael Carter, the interception last year that was overturned. That's maybe the best example.
Yep.
And the non-call on Jermaine Johnson in the same game that happened almost back to back in the same half.
And you want to talk direct impact on the play? I mean, literally, Patrick Mahomes ran through the hole created by the hold on Jermaine Johnson. So there's absolutely no excuse or nothing they could say for why that flag wasn't thrown.
I don't know. It's frustrating here. Very frustrating. As we're getting into the final minutes here, obviously, it's Thursday, still a lot of time before the game on Monday. We don't have to get into like score predictions or anything like that, but do you have anything in particular that you're looking for this week that you want to see with the new coaching changes?
I want to see us stop trying to outsmart the obvious. Buffalo struggled against the run. So a Hackett coach team doesn't run the ball because that's what they think we're going to do. So we come out with the opposite game plan, right? The Hackett coach teams, the stronger part of our offensive line is on the left side. So what do? We run to the right because he thinks that that's what they're thinking we're going to run to the left. Let's outsmart them. What I'm hoping for is we look at what Buffalo is not good at defending and we attack that. That's what I want us to do. They've struggled in stopping the run. We should analyze those games where they haven't stopped the run. We should look at what kind of runs. Were they end runs? Were they through the tackles? Where were those runs? Copy it, copy it, copy it. Until they prove they can stop it, attack them where they've shown they're weak.
The Buffalo Bills this year on the ground have allowed 5.2 yards per attempt. That's worse than the NFL. They've allowed 720 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns against. They've been decent against the pass, 14th in yards, 12th in touchdowns against, but they have struggled against the run. If there was ever a game for the Jets to get the run game going, and hey, Morgan Moses is back. Olu struggled, as you pointed out, but Morgan Moses will be back. And on the defensive side, 𝐒𝐿𝐫𝐞𝐽 is back this week. So maybe an improved, how about that? Maybe an improved run defense this week. Is that too much to ask for?
Look, overall, I can't say anything bad about the defense. I can't, because the defense has played well enough that we could be, easily, obviously 4-1. So the only bad defensive game where they had a big part in the loss was the opening game against the Niners. Since then, the defense has given us every opportunity to win 4 games. I do think that Fotu coming back can improve the run. I also the run defense, but I also think that we need to give more reps and more of an opportunity to Leonard Taylor III. I like what I saw from him. Maybe with Saleh gone, rookies will be allowed to play and have a chance to contribute.
I hope so. I hope that's what we see this week. I think that's going to bring this episode to an end, Jeremy. A very testy episode between us and the chat today. Did not expect so many Saleh defenders, and
it only takes a few.
Yeah, it only takes a few, but that'll do it, guys. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new. Follow Jeremy's work on his channel. You can find me on my channel, Matt O'Leary NY, as well. That'll do it. I'm Matt. He's Jeremy. We'll catch you next time.
Let's go.